ॐ शुक्लाम्भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करभावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாவிவ சம்பிருக்தௌ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தஹே ஜகதः பிதரௌ வந்தே பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வரौ. श्री पार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः। कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुवमभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशीविभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി ഏതീനു മന്യനെ കുമ്പീരേന്താത്തോ രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining a few minutes early today. Okay, so let's do a quick review, I think, of 44 and 46, right? Sri Vidya, can you do one of them? And then Padma Garu, you can do one.
Yeah, you can do 44.
Okay.
Dasakam 44, Jadakarana Namakarana Varnanam. Kudam Gudam Vasudeva Gira Kardum.
There's a 4-liner tune. Gudham Vasudeva Gira. On the tune.
Okay. Gudam Vasudeva Gira Kardum de Nishkriyasya Samskaran Hridgadahora Tattvo Gargamunihi Tvedgriham Vibho Ghadavan Nandoda Nandidhatma Brindishtam Mayanayan Namum Yaminam Mandasmithartramuche Tvat Samaskaran Vidhadumutsugadihi Yeduvamsha Sharyatvat Shunibridhamidam Arya Karyamidi Gadayan Garbho Nirgada Purakaha Chakre Davasakra Jasya Namani Kadamasya Nama Kurve Sahasra Namno Henanda Namno Va Iti Nutam Gargamunihi Chakre Dava Nama Nama Rahasi Vibho
Iti Nunam. And the third line. Nunam.
Iti Nunam Gargamunihi Chakre Dava Nama Nama Rahasi Vibho Grishitaduna Karabhyam Sattanandatmadham Kilabhilabat Jagadagakarshitvam Bhakadayat Rushihi Krishna Namadev Yathanot Anyamsha Nama Vedan Vyakurvan Nakrajecha Ramadhin Adimanushanubhavam Nyakadatvam Prakashayan Pitre.
Nyagadatvam. If you say Tvam, then you have to say Aprakashayan Pitre.
Okay. Nyagadatvam Aprakashayam Pitre. Snihyadi Yastava Putre Mukhyadi cha Namayikai Nashokaihi Drihyadi Yaschatu Nasyet Ityavadatte Mahatvam Rishivaryaha Jeshyadi Bahu Dharaityan Neshyadi Nichabandhu Lokam Amalapadam Shroshyadi Suvimalakirtirasveti Bhavat Vibhudim Rishiruche Amunaiva Sarva Durgam Taridasta Gridasta Matra Dishtatvam Harire Vedya Nabilan Ityadi Vamavarnayat Samunihi.
And the first line, after Taritastha, there is a comma, okay, in the first line.
Okay.
And then the second one, Harireve Tyena Bhilapan.
Harirevedya
Na Bhilapan.
Harivedya na Bilapan. Okay.
Yeah.
Gargeda Nirgedasmin Nandita Nandadi Nandyamanastvam Matkada Mutkada Karuno Nirgamaya Shri Marutpuradisa Shri Krishnaya Parabhramane Namaha.
Very good. Padma Garu, you're doing it? Padma Garu, are you able to do it? Okay. Radha, are you there? Can you do 46?
I can do, Rajesh.
Yeah, Radha can't get. Sorry.
I can do only.
Okay. You are on mute, looks like.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Ayi deva pura kilatvayi swayamutthana shayesthanandaye parijrumbhanato vyapavrute vadane visvamachasta vallavi punaraphyata balakai samam tvayi leela nirate jagatpate falasanchaya vanchana krudha tava madbhojanamujurarbhugaha
Tava mrid bhojanam.
Tava mrudbhojanamujurarbhugaha ayite palayavadhau vibho
No, sorry, can you just start that line again? I think you lost the tune. Ayite pralayavadhau vibho.
ayite pala prala ayite pala sorry ayite prala yavadhau vibho shritito yadi samasta bhakshinah mudupashanato ruja bhavet iti bhita janani chukopasa aidurin ari ऐदुर्विनयात्मकत्वया किमुमुत्सा भतवत्स भक्षिता इति मातृगिरं चिरं विभो वितधां त्वं प्रति जिग्निषेहसन्
Jagnishe prati jagnishe.
ओ जिग्निशन
Sorry,
वितधां
yeah, that,
त्वं
yeah. I think that last
वितथा
two.
त्वं प्रति जग्निषेहसन्.
The last two lines, it's mritsa. You're saying mutsa, right? I think in previous stanza and this stanza, right? It's mrit is referring to mud. So mridu
मृत्स
pashanato in the last stanza and mritsa, kimu mritsa.
ओके ऐदुर्विनयात्मकत्वया किमु मृत्सा बत वत्स भक्षिता इति मातृगिरं चिरं विभो वितथा त्वं प्रतिजग्निषे हसन् ऐते सकलैर्विनिश्चिते विमतिश्चेद्वदनं विदार्यताम् इति मातृविभर्त्सितोत्वमुखं विकसत्पद्मनिभं व्यदारयः अपि मृल्लवदर्शनोत्सुकां जननीं त्वां बहुतर्पयन्निव पृथिवीं निखिलां न केवलं भवनान्यप्यखिलान्यदीदृशः
Bhuvananya, last line.
भुवनान्यप्यखिलान्यदीदृशः कुहचिन्वनमम्भुतिः क्वचिदभ्रं कुहच्छिद्रसातलं मनुजादनुजाः क्वचित् सुराः ददृशे किं न तदा त्वदानने
And the first line, kuhachid. It's the sound. You said in, it's a it. Kuhachid vanam.
కుహచిద్వా
Yeah.
కాదండి
Yeah.
ఓకే
Yeah. Dwa sound there. Kuhachid vanam. You don't have to repeat it. Just make sure. Yeah.
ఓకే కుహచిద్వనమంబుదిః క్వచిదభ్రం కుహచిద్రసాతలం మనుజాదనుజాః క్వచిత్ సురాः దదృశే కిం న తదా తద్వదాననే కలశాంభుతిశాయినం పునః పరవైకుంఠపదాధివాసినం స్వపురశ్చ నిజార్భకాత్మకం కతిధా త్వం న దదర్శ సాముఖే వికసద్భువనే ముఖోదరే నను భూయోపి తదా విధాననః అనయా స్ఫుటమీక్షితో భవాన్ అనవస్థాం జగతాం వతాతనోత్ ద్రుతతత్వధియం తదాక్షణం జననీం తాం ప్రణయేన మోహయన్ స్తనమంబదిశేత్యుపాసజన్ భగవన్నద్భుత పాహి మాం. శ్రీకృష్ణాయ పరబ్రహ్మణే నమః.
Very good. Okay. So we will continue with Dashakam 47. I think we stopped at stanza 6. Yeah. Okay. Ram, is Ramya coming? Oh, Kala. Okay. All right. I couldn't see her. I saw her earlier. So, okay. So, Minu or Ramya, you can be students in the first half. Okay. Okay. Let me see where we left it. Okay. So, stanza 7. बन्धुमिच्छति यमेव सज्जनस्तं भवन्तमयि बन्धुमिच्छति Saniyujya rashana gunan bahun dvyangulonamakilam kilaikshata. So where we left last time was Yashoda was feeding Krishna. At that time, we saw how the milk was boiling in the kitchen. So half drunk, she left Krishna and went to turn to settle the milk. At that time, Krishna then got really angry, or he pretended to act angry, and then he took either a stone or a stick. We said we'll leave that out, and then he hit it at that pot, right, which was churning, and that spilled all over. And then Yashoda kept chasing Krishna, and then she found him sitting on a mortar feeding butter to the cats. That's where we left it. So then she says, you know what, I'm fed up with your atrocities. I'm going to tie you right now. So when she decides now tie Krishna to the mortar, right? So she first takes a rope and she tries to tie Krishna to that mortar. And she ties Krishna to the top mortar. She figures out that Dvyangulonam Akilam. So Dvi Anguli. So 2 fingers. So she was falling short of 2 fingers when she was trying to tie Krishna. And remember, Krishna at this age is probably 3 or 4, some age like that, because later on he turns 5, right? So she's falling short by 2 fingers. So then, of course, she goes and she brings a bigger rope and she tries to tie Krishna with that bigger rope. Again, she falls short of Dvi Angulam, 2 fingers, she falls short. So then she goes and she says, I'm going to take multiple ropes, and she's wondering what is happening, right? So she takes another rope and then she again tries to connect those ropes and tie Krishna. Again, she falls short by 2 fingers. So no matter what she does, she's always falling short by 2 fingers to tie Krishna down to that mortar. So here the Bhattipada also says that, so all Bandhu Michati Emeva Sajjanas, the good people, always want to bind themselves to you, O Krishna. Yashoda is now trying to bind you to the mortar, right? So that's not going to happen, because you cannot be bound by anybody. And we'll say only the exception will come in the next stanza. So you cannot be bound by anybody. So Bandhum Ichhati, short E, Yameva Sajjanas, and then put a plus, Tam Bhavantam Ai Bandhum Ichhati. So this one is a long E, the first one Bandhum Ichhati is a short E. Sa Niyujya Rashana Gunan Bahun, comma, Dvyangulonam, that's one word, Dvyangulonam Akhilam Kilaikshata. Bandhumichhati yamev sajjanastam bhavantamai bandhumichhati saniyujya rashana gunan bahun dvyangulonam akhilam kilaikshata.
Bandhumichat. Should I go first? Sorry.
Anyone here?
Bandhumichati yameva sajjanastam bhavantamai bandhumichati saniyujya rashanagunan bahun dvingulon makhilam kilaikshata. Bandhumichati yameva sajjanastam bhavantamai bandhumichati sanyujya rashanagunan bahun dvingulo makhilam kilaikshata.
बन्धुमिच्छति यमेव सज्जनस्तं भवन्तमयि बन्धुमिच्छति सानियुज्य रशनाङ्गुणान् बहून् व्यङ्गुलोनमखिलं किलैषत बन्धुमिच्छति यमेव सज्जनस्तं भवन्तमयि बन्धुमिच्छति सानियुज्य रशनाङ्गुणान् बहून् Dvangulonam akilam kilaishata.
That's 8. Vismitotsmita sakhi janikshitam swinnasanna vapusham nirikshyatam nityamukta vapurapyaho hare bandhameva kripayanva manyatha. So you already saw in the last class when this started that Yashoda was already very tired. She's not used to churning. She always has these maid servants who does it. So today she was also taking care of the churning, and then she had to run. Then she was running after Krishna. So she was really tired, right? And she was perspiring. And then to add to everything, her Saki, her other friends are looking, and then they are laughing, saying, you know what, 4-year-old boy, You're not able to even control a 4-year-old boy and you're struggling to keep control of him. So they are also laughing on one side. So Yashoda is like really perspiring and she doesn't know what to do as to why this is happening. So Vismitaha. So she's sitting and wondering what is going wrong, right? I'm not able to get this boy under control. And if all her friends are also sitting there and laughing. So here, they say that, Bhagavatam says that, see, even the great demigods like Brahma or Indra or Shiva, all of them, they can never even get you under control because you are Nitya Mukta. You are always free bodied. Nobody can keep you under control. But there's only one person who can keep you under control, which is when you decide that your devotees can keep you under control. We also saw this in Ambarisha Charitram, where Narayana says, I am, Bhakta Dasaha. I am a servant to my devotees. So when you finally saw that your mother was struggling so much, then you decided, okay, it is time. And then out of compassion to your mother, because you didn't want your mother to struggle beyond this point, out of compassion, you then surrendered to your mother. And so now Yashoda was finally able to tie Krishna to the mortar. So Vismitotsmita Sakhi Janekshitam, Svinna Sanna Vapusham Nirikshyatam Nitya Mukta Vapurapyaho Hare, Bandhameva Kripayanva Manyataha. So that you can say it together. Kripaya Anva Manyataha, but you can say that as one word. Vismitotsmita Sakhi Janekshitam Svinna Sanna Vapusham Nirikshyatam Nitya Mukta Vapurapyaho Hare Bandhameva Kripayanva Manyataha.
Vismitosmita Sakhi Janekshitam Swina
Sanna, double na in both places.
Svinna Vapusham Nirikshyatam Nityamukta Vapura Pyaho Hare Bandhameva Kripayan Vamanyataha. Vismitosmita Taskhijanekshitam Svinna Sanna Vapusham Nirikshyatam Nityamukta Vapurapyaho Hare Bandhameva Kripayan Vamanyataha.
Vismitosmita-sakhi janekshitam svinna-sanna-vapusham nirikshyatam nityamukta-vapurapyaho hare bandhameva krupayanvamanyataha. Vismitosmita-sakhi janekshitam svinna-sanna-vapusham nirikshyatam nityamukta-vapurapyaho hare Bandhameva krupayanvamanyataha.
Stanza 9. Stihyatam chiramulu kale kale tyagata bhavanameva sayada pragulu kalabilantare tadha sarpirarpitamadanna vastitha. So, I see this because my brother now has a small, 2-year-old boy, less than 2 years, right? So whenever my sister-in-law gets tired, what she does is she puts him on this high chair, puts the table on top so he cannot move, and puts some Cheerios in it, and then she can go do her work. So that's what Yashoda also says here. She says, I have tied you to the mortar now. You stay here for some time. I'm going to go do my work. So with that, Yashoda leaves Krishna and goes. But if you remember, when Krishna was there, when she found him sitting on that mortar, he was giving some butter to the cats. We saw that Otave, Navanitam Otave, we said. Similarly, that butter is still sitting there in that mortar, and Krishna is like happily eating the butter tied to the mortar right now. Stiyatam chiram ulukhale khale tyagata. So you can put a plus there. So some books may have khaleti agata. If you have it, then just join it. It becomes khale tyagata. It and a ya. So khale tyagata bhavanameva sa yada. So those two lines are together. Pragulukala bilantare tada, sarpirarpitam, you can break it that ma, sarpirarpitam adanna vastithaha. Stihyatam chiramulu khale khale tyagata bhavanameva sayada प्रागुलूखलबिलान्तरे तथा सर्पिरर्पितमदन्नवास्थिताः
स्थीयतां चिरमूलुखले खले त्यागता भवन्मेव सा यदा प्रागुलुखल बिलान्तरे तदा सर्पिरर्पितम
The sarpirarpitam, you can say it and pause. Sarpirarpitam adhanna vastitaha.
सर्पिरर्पितम् अधन्नवास्थिताः स्थीयतां चिरमूलुखले खले त्यागता भवनमेव सा यदा प्रागुलुखलबिलान्तरे तदा सर्पिरर्पितम् अधन्वास्थिताः.
Adhan, again double na is coming there, so adhanna vastitaha.
सर्पिरर्पितम् अधन्ववास्थिताः.
स्थीयतां चिरमुलूकले कले त्यागता भवनमेव सा यथा प्राकुलूकलबिलान्तरे तथा सर्पिरर्पितमदन्नवास्थिताः स्थीयतां चिरमुलूकले कले त्यागता भवनमेव सा यदा प्राकुलूकलबिलान्तरे तथा सर्पिरर्पितमदन्नवास्थिताः.
Uncertain. यद्यपाशसुगमो विभो भवान् संयतः किमु सपाशयानया एवमादिदिविजैरभिष्टुतो वातनाथ परिपाहि मां गधात्. Like we said earlier, the word abhishtu, when it comes here in Tamil, it's different. In Sanskrit, it means praising. So, the devas are praising. So, this word pasha could have two meanings. One is it means a rope. Pasham is a rope. It also means desire. So, here it says the devas are saying, oh Lord, like this apasham, to attain you, right? You are only attainable by people who have apasham. Means people who do not have desire, right, to attain you. However, how is it that your mother Yashoda used pasham, which is the opposite of apasham, to be able to attain you, to be able to get you under control? So with that, the devas praise, saying, you know what, really Yashoda is great because everybody has to be apasham, but Yashoda was able to do it with pasham. So she's really unique to be able to do that. With that, the gods praised you, O Vatanatha, O Lord of Guruvayur, please paripahimam gadar, please eradicate all my ailments. यद्यपाश सुगमो विभो भवान, संयतः is there, put a ih sound, संयतः किमु सपाशयानया एवमादि दिविजैरभिष्टुतो. You can say it together. If you cannot, then break it at the ra. दिविजैरभिष्टुतो, वातनाथ परिपाहि मां गदात्. यद्यपाशसुगमो विभो भवान् संयतः किमु सपाशयानया एवमादिदिविजैरभिष्टुतो वातनाथ परिपाहि मां गदात्.
यद्यपाशसुगमो विभो भवान् संयतः किमु सपाशयानया एवमादि द्विविजैर्भिष्टुतो वातनाथ परिपाहि मां गदात्. यज्ञपाशसुगमो यद्यपाशसुगमो विभो भवान् संयतः किमु सपाशयानया एवमादि दिविजैरभिष्टुतो वातनाथ परिपाहि मां गदात्.
यद्यपाशसुगमो विभो भवान् संयतः किमु सपाशयानया एवमादिदिविजैरभिष्टुतो वादनाद परिपाहि मां गदात्. यत्यपाशसुकमो विभो भवान् संयदः किमु सपाशयानया एवमादिदिविजैरभीष्टुतो वादनाथ परिपाहि मां गतात्।
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Dashakam 48. Yamalarjuna Bhanjana Varnanam. So Yamalarjuna are two trees. Yamala Arjuna's long big trees. Yamalarjuna. We'll see who they are later. But those are the redeeming. Or so some books may have Nalakuvara, Manigriva. Those are the names of the people. We'll see. But anyway, my title says Yamalarjuna Bhanjana Varnanam. Stanza 1. मुदा सुरौघैस्त्वमुदारसम्मदैः उदीर्य दामोदर इत्यभिष्टुतः मृदूदरस्वैरमुलूखले लगन् अदूरतोद्ध्वौ ककुभावुदैक्षथाः. Says this, your what do you call your belly? Mridudara has very tender belly, right? 4-year-old boy, so it's very tiny belly, and it's very tender also and very soft. So that belly, your mother has now tied you to the mortar with a rope, with multiple ropes, because she could not tie it with one rope, right? So with that, so that is how here Bhattacharya also including the word Damodara he's introducing. So Udaram is a stomach and Dama means a rope. So because your stomach is tied with a rope, your name is Damodara. So all the Suraugas, all the gods started calling you Damodara now because you've been tied with a rope around your stomach. So when Krishna was there standing and was tied to that, and he was eating the butter, so he then saw two Kakuba or the Yamalarjuna trees, the big massive trees who are in Nandagopa's this thing, what do you call, in his compound, right? So that was like the indicator, right? So because when I was growing up in Coimbatore, there used to be this egg shop opposite to my house. So we used to always, that was the only egg shop in that street. So you see, opposite to the egg shop is our house. That is the indicator for where our house is. Similarly, this was the indicator for Nandagopa's house. These trees have been there for hundreds of years. This tree has been there. So nobody in Gokulam knows when these trees first came. Ever since they've been there, the tree has been there. So it's one of those landmark trees, two trees together, right, which have been there, and Krishna sees those trees there. So Muda Suraughais Tvam Udara, if you want to make it, Tvam Udara Sammadaihi. So put a visarga and a comma there, Sammadaihi. Next line, the Ru becomes a U. Udirya Damodara Itya Bhishtutaha. Mridudaraha, put a is, Mridudaras Swairam Ulukale, if you want to break it. Swairam Ulukale Lagan, put a in at the end of that line and a comma. Next line, if you have a in and a na, strike it off, put a adurato dhvau kakubhavu daikshataha. Muda suraughaiस्त्वमुदार सम्मदैः उदीर्य दामोदरयित्यभिष्टुतः मृदूदरस्वैरमुलूखले लगन् अदूरतोद्ध्वौ ककुभावुदैक्षताः.
Muda surau dais tvamudara sammadaihi ruddirya.
Udirya, u at that becomes a u.
Oh, Uddirya Damodara Itya Bishtutah Mridudaras Swairamu Ullukale Lagan Adhurato Dvai Kakubhavu Daikshataha.
And dvau, and the last line word is dvau.
Okay. Dvau Kakubhavu Daikshataha. Muda Suraughais Tvamudara Sammadaihi Udirya Damodara Itya Bishtutaha Muddaras Swaira Ullukale Lagan Adurata Dvai Kakubhavu Daikshataha.
Adura tho dvau on the last line.
Adhurato Dvau Kakubhara ककुभावु दैक्षताः
मुदा सुरौकैस्तव मुधारसम्मदैः उदीर्य दामोदर इत्यभिष्टुतः मृदूदरस्वैरमुदूकलेलगन् अधूरदो द्वौ कगुपाबुदैक्षताः मुदा सुरौकैस्त्वमुधारसम्मदैः उदीर्य दामोदर इत्यभिष्टुतः मृदूदरस्वैरमुलूकलेलगन् अधूरदो द्वौ कगुपाबुदैक्षताः.
Answer 2. कुबेरसूनुर्नलकूबराभिदः परो मणिग्रीव इति प्रतां गतः महेशसेवादिगतः श्रियोन्मधौ चिरं किल त्वद्विमुखावखेलताम्. This is a small flashback of who these two trees, or who are those trees, or what, why are they here, right? So in the long several years back, and we'll see how much when it comes later. So there were this Kubera's two sons. So Nala Kuvara and Manigriva, they were the two sons of Kubera. So because the sons of Kubera, of course, they are born with a silver platter. They are extremely rich, right? And you know what they also did was they also prayed to Lord Shiva a lot. And Shiva is, like we said earlier, Ashutoshi. So you can easily please Shiva and get whatever you want. So they also got more wealth, more prosperity and opulence and everything. And because of that, they were extremely proud of their wealth. And then they became very proud. So they got it through all these prayers and everything. But the moment they got all this wealth, but the part says no, then they stopped worshipping you or worshipping any of the gods, and they started going into bad ways, and they started leading a very wayward life because of all the wealth they actually got. So Kubera Sunur Nalakubarabhidaha, comma, Paro Manigriva iti Pratam Gataha Mahesha Sevadi Gatash Shriyon Madau, comma, Chiram Kila Tvad Vimukhava Khelatam. Kuberasonur Nalakubharabhidaha Paro Manigriva ite Pratam Gataha Mahesha Sevadhigata Shriyon Madau Chiram Kila Tvad Vimukhava Khelatam.
कुबेरसूनुर्नल कुबारभिदः परो मणिग्रीव इति प्रतां गतः महेशसेवादिगतश्रियोन्मदौ चिरं किल त्वद्विमुखावखेलताम्.
In the first line, Nala Kubarabhidaha, long U.
नलकूबराभिदः
Yeah.
कुबेरसूनुर्नलकूबराभिदः परो मणिग्रीव इति प्रथां गतः महेशसेवाधिगतश्रियोन्मदौ चिरं किल त्वद्विमुखावखेलताम्.
कुबेरसूनुर्नलकूबराभिदः परो मणिग्रीव इति प्रतां गतः महेशसेवादिगत श्रियोन्मदौ शिरं कलद्वद्विमुखावकेलताम्.
Chiram Kila, fourth line.
Inga?
Fourth line, Chiram Kila. I think you said Kala or something.
Sorry. चिरं किलद्वद्विमुखावकेलताम्. कुबेरसूनुर्नलकूबराभिदः परो मणिग्रीव इति प्रतां गतः महेशसेवादिगतश्रियोन्मदौ चिरं किल त्वद्विमुखावकेलताम्.
Stanza 3. Surapagayam kilatau madotkatou surapagayat bahuyauvatavritau vivasasau keli parau sanarado bhavatpadaika pravano nirekshata. So because they had got very rich and very opulent, and they became very proud, and they also because they had very good connections to Shiva. So what they were used to do was they used to come to Mount Kailasha, and at the banks of Mount Kailasha there was a garden and other places where they always used to hang out. So there's this Mandakini river. So this is one of the tributary of Alakananda, which then later on goes and becomes Ganges. So it's also loosely referred to as Ganges because later on it becomes Ganges. So anyway, this is before it becomes Ganges in that Mandakini river. So they used to drink a lot, this liquor, and they used to spend a lot of time with women. And one day, what happened? So here, Bhagavatam says, no, Ganges is a place where everybody goes to purify oneself, to get rid of all their sins. But these two people were going there to commit sins. That's what they were doing, the exact opposite. So they were there one day and they were drinking and with some women, and they are all stark naked in the Ganges river playing. So at that time, she says, because of some punyam they have done in the past, Narada appears. So anytime Narada appears in front of you, you should feel happy because that means good thing is going to happen to you. First it may be bad, but then eventually it's going to lead to good. So anyway, so Narada then appears by chance, it says, because there's some punyam they have done. And then he sees that these people are completely intoxicated and they have no idea what they're doing, and they're playing in Ganges right now. So Surapagayam Kila Tau Madotkatau, Surapagayat Bahu Yauvatavritau Vivasasau Keliparau Sa Narado, Bhavat Padaika Pravano Niraikshata. Surapagayam Kilatau Madotkatau Surapagayat Bahu Yauvatavritau Vivasasau Keliparau Sa Narado Bhavat Padaika Pravano Niraikshata.
Surapagayam kilatau madotkatau Surapagayat bahuyau vatavritau Vivasasau keliparau sanarado Bhavat padaika pravano niraikshata. Surapagayam kilatau madotkatau Surapagayat bahuyau vatavritau Vivasasau keliparau sanarado Bhavat padaika pravano niraikshata.
Surapagayam kiladau madodgatau Surapagayat bahuyau vadavritau Vivasasau keliparau
Keliparau.
Barau. Oh, sorry. Vivasasau keliparau sanarado Bhavat padaika pravano niraikshata. Surapagayam kiladau madodgatau Surapagayat bahuyau vadavritau Vivasasau keliparau sanarado Bhavat padaika pravano niraikshata.
Answer 4. Bhiya priya lokamupatavasasam puro nirikshapi madandhachetasau imau bhavat bhaktyupashanti siddhaye munir jagau shanti mrite kutasukam. So, of course, these Nalapuvara, Manigriva, and all the women who had come were all from the Swargaloka. They are the demigods who had actually descended down to be in Ganges. So, the moment they saw Narada, they realized who it was, right? At least the women realized first. So, all the women who were there, they immediately felt very ashamed that, Narada is coming. And first of all, you're not supposed to take bath in any river naked. So, we're going to see it 3 times in Narayaneeyam it's going to come. This is the first time it's going to come. And then I'll tell you when the other 2 times when it comes, I'll tell you. So it's a sin to do that. So the women felt very ashamed. So they immediately went on, grabbed their clothes, and they ran away from there, right? Because they felt they committed a sin. But however, these two, Nalakuvara, Manigriva, were so intoxicated that they did not even know what was happening. They did not even realize that Narada has come there and why all these women also ran away. So Narada then said, you know what? That he decided to make them achieve devotion. Narada decided to curse. So that curse is actually going to be a boon because it's going to help you improve, right? So and what he's going to do is going to come later. What he's saying is coming later. So here Bhattaripat says Narada is doing it because you need to be very calm. The only way for you to achieve happiness is to have a calm mind. So it says Munir Jagau Shanti Mrite Kutas Sukam. So without calmness of mind, how can one achieve happiness? The calmness of mind is extremely important. So Narada has a way of how they can achieve calmness of mind. So that's what he's going to tell in the next stanza. Bhiya Priya Lokam Upatha Vasasam, Puro Nirikshapi Madandha Chetaso. Mada Andham, they are blinded with intoxication. Madandha Chetaso. Imau Bhavat Bhaktyupa Shanti Siddhaye, Munir Jagau Shanti Mrite Kutaha. Putta is Kutas Sukham. Bhiya Priya Lokamupatavasasam Puro Nirikshapi Madandhachetasau Imau Bhavad Bhaktyupashanti Siddhaye Munir Jagau Shanti Munir Jagau Shanti Mrite Kutas Sukham.
Bhiya Priya Lokamupat Vasasam Puro Nirikshapi Madanda Chetasau Imau Bhavat Bhakta Yupacha Pashanti Siddhaye Munir Jagau Shanti Mrite Kutas Sukham.
I mean, third line, Imau Bhavat Bhaktyupa Shanti.
Imau Bhavat Bhaktyupa Shanti Siddhyate.
Siddhaye.
Siddhaye. Bhiya Priya Lokamu Pata Tavasasam Puro Nirikshapi Madana Dachetasau Imau Bhavat Bhakta Yupashanti.
Well, I don't say it as one word. Bhaktyupa.
Bhaktyupashanti Siddhaye Munir Jagau Shanti Mrite Kutas Sukham.
Biya Priya Lokamupatavasasam Puro Nirikshya Vimadandajetasau Imau Bhavad Bhaktyupashanti Siddhaye Munir Jagau Shanti Mrute Kutasukam Bhiya Priya Lokamupatavasasam Puro Niriksha Bimadanta Chetasau Imau Bhavad Bhaktyupashanti Siddhaye Munir Jagau Shanti Mrute Kutasukam.
Okay, we'll just switch halfway through the class. Sujata Garu, you can be a student. Sundari, you can be a student. Okay. Stanza 5. Yuvamavaptau kakubhatmatam chiram harim nirikshyata padam swamapnutam iti ritau thau bhavadikshana spruham gatau vrajante kakubhau bhabhuvatuhu. So Narada then, tells those two, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, saying that, listen, in this world, you might get a lot of things. You may be born really beautiful, or you may be born in a great family. You may be extremely knowledgeable. But he says, amongst all of these things, the moment you acquire your wealth, you acquire a lot of money, he says that is the number one inhibitor, right? That is the one which actually causes everything to go away for you. Your state of mind will completely change more than if you are more pretty, you're born in a knowledgeable family or become a knowledgeable person and all that. Having wealth is the biggest problem. And he says because of that, especially people like Nalakuvara, Manigriva, who are born rich, who did not have the knowledge, it's very easy for them to actually start getting into wrong ways. So he says the only way for you to realize that is, and he gives examples, he gives two very good examples. He says one of them is a person cannot realize how poor somebody is unless that person has been poor himself, right? And the other example he gives is when you are walking and you see somebody has, something pricked on their eyes. You cannot feel how much pain that person is having unless you have actually had that pain before. Only then you can truly empathize with that person, right? So Narada says that you both have been like trees Like, we say maram, like maram mari nikkaram, we say in Tamil, right? Like, in a sense, he's just standing. No matter what is happening around, that person doesn't get affected, right? So Narada says, that's how you both have become. You both seem to have no conscious. You have no idea what is happening. You are drunk, you are playing in Ganges, and Narada has come, and they didn't even realize Narada has come and what is happening. Say, you are just like trees without any conscious. So he says, so I curse that you actually become two trees. But he says the only difference is going to be you are going to remember, you're going to be two trees with consciousness. So you'll remember the mistake you have made. And as trees, you cannot do anything. What can trees do? Trees just have to stand. If the wind comes, the tree blows, right? The trees don't do anything. So imagine you have to sit in some place for 100 years. He says 100 divine years, God years, which is for every half a day, it is like, or one day, it is like 6 months, Devata months. So it says 100 God years, he says, you go sit as trees in a forest with absolutely nothing to do. And that is going to give you time to contemplate on what you have done. And that is when you're going to realize what is important, right? So he curses. However, he says, because you are also demigods, he says there is also a benefit at the end of it. If at the end of it, you've realized your mistake, then in the Dwapara Yugam, at this time, when this coming, you're going to be in Vrinda, you're going to be in Gokulam. So at that time, Narayana himself is going to come as Krishna and he's going to liberate you if it's time for it, right? That's the curse he gives. And those are the two people who then end up as two trees in Nanda Gopa's compound, right? As a two Yamalarjuna trees. Like I said, so they've been there for, like 200 plus years. So none of these people knew when those trees came and they've been just standing there and they became very old and withered also right now. So where did we in the okay, so yuvama vaptau kaku bhatmatam chiram comma harim nirikshyata padam swamapnutam itiritau tau bhavadikshana spriham comma gatau vrajante kakubhau bhabuvatuhu. युवामवाप्तौ ककुभात्मतां चिरं हरिं निरीक्ष्यात पदं स्वमाप्नुतम् इतीरितौ तौ भवदीक्षणस्पृहां गतौ व्रजान्ते ककुभौ बभूवतुः.
युवामवाप्त ककुभात्मतां चिरं हरिं निरीक्ष्याथ पदं स्वमाप्नुतम् इतीरितौ तौ भवदीक्षणस्पृहां गतौ रजान्ते ककुभौ बभूवतुः. युवामवाप्तौ ककुभात्मतां चिरं हरिं निरीक्ष्याथ पदं स्वमाप्नुतम् इतीरितौ तौ भवदीक्षणस्पृहां गतौ रजान्ते ककुभौ बभूवतुः.
युवामवाप्तौ ककुभात्मतां चिरं हरिं निरीक्ष्याथ पदं स्वमाप्नुतम् इतीरितौ तौ भवदीक्षणस्पृहां गतौ व्रजान्ते ककुभौ बभूवतुः. युवामवाप्तौ ककुभात्मतां चिरं हरिं निरीक्ष्याथ पदं स्वमाप्नुतम् इतीरितौ तौ भवदीक्षणस्पृहां गतौ व्रजान्ते ककुभौ बभूवतुः.
अतन्द्रमिन्द्रद्रुयुगं तथाविधं समेयुषामन्तरगामिना त्वया तिरायुतो लूकलरोदनिर्धुतौ चिराय जीर्णौ परिपातितौ तरु. So Krishna is also thinking, standing. Now we come back to life, right? So Krishna is not tied to the motor. He's looking at these two Yamalarjuna trees. So Krishna knows. He says, you know what? These are two sons of Kuvera. I don't have to go do anything to them. But my number one devotee, Narada is Krishna, Narayana's number one devotee. My number one devotee has promised that I am going to come and rescue them. So I now have to go and free those two people. So with that, Krishna starts moving towards those trees. He starts dragging that mortar and starts going towards those trees. And then he goes, and then when he walks through those trees, the mortar now gets stuck between those two trees. So Krishna then pulls, and when he pulls, the mortars turn half the 90 degrees. And with that, the two trees, which had anyway become very long and decayed and old because they've been there for hundreds of years, they both come crashing down heavily, and then both the trees are completely falls crashing down. So Atandram Indra, if you want to break it. Atandramindra Druyugam Tathavidham, comma, Sameyusha Manthara Gamina Tvaya Tirayutolukala, one word, Tirayutolukala Rodha Nirdhutau, comma, Chiraya Jirnau Paripatitau Taru. Atandramindra Druyugam Tathavidham Samheyusha Mantharagamina Tvaya Tirayutolukala Rodha Nirdhutau Chiraya Jirnau Paripatitau Taru.
अतन्द्रमिन्द्रद्रुयुगं तथाविधं समेयुषा मन्थरगामिना त्वया चिरायितो लूखलरोधनिर्धृतौ चिराय जीर्णौ परिपातितौ तरु अतन्द्रमिन्द्रद्रुयुगं तथाविधं समेयुषा मन्थरगामिना त्वया चिरायितो लूखलरोधनिर्धृतौ चिराय जीर्णौ परिपातितौ तरु
अतन्द्रमिन्द्रद्रुयुगं तथाविधं समेयुषा मन्थरगामिनत्वया तिरायुतोलुखलरोधनिर्धुतौ चिराय जीर्णो परिपातितौ तरु.
Sundari, the second line, Mantaragamina Tvaya, A sound at the end.
अतन्द्रमिन्द्रद्रुयुगं तथाविधं समेयुषा मन्थरगामिना त्वया तिरायुतोलुखलरोधनिर्धुतौ चिराय जीर्णो परिपातितौ तरु.
Rajeshi, one question.
Ah.
Is there a specific reason why Bhattatri has mentioned that because the trees are decayed, they fell out? So why is he not appreciating Krishna's strength?
Bhattatri did not, I mean, yeah, he's briefly mentioned that they were decayed due to age. So because of that, Krishna pulls, I mean, yeah, Krishna just pulled it, but the point was not to say that Krishna did not do it. That was not the intention. He said the trees were anyway there for 200 years. So they were becoming old and decayed. And then when you pulled it, they just fell off. You know, it was kind of the thing. So it was not like it was firmly rooted to the ground and then Krishna broke it. That was the point he was trying to make there. That's all.
Okay. Thank you.
Stanza 7. Abhajishakidvitayam yada tvaya tadaiva tadgarbhatala nireyusha mahatmisha yaksha yugena tatkshanat abhaji govinda bhavana pistavaihi. So then when the trees fell, then from the garbham of the trees, from the core of the trees emerged two personalities, which was like fire, which was like light, which actually emerged from those two personalities. And then there's essentially Nalakuvara and Manigriva, right? They come, and then when they come out, because they're demigods, they were illuminating that entire area, and they actually do a very nice stuti, right, to Krishna, right? I'll just say only one stanza of it, right? So one of them is Krishna Krishna Mahayogin Twamadah Purushah Parah Vyakta Vyaktamidam Vishwam Rupam Te Brahmana Viduhu. So they go and say very nice stuti which says, Krishna, you know what? Your power is inconceivable. You are the supreme, you are the original. Vyakta, Avyakta, anything which is, the gross, the subtle manifestations, you are everything. You are the Vishwarupam, you are the one who has the entire world in you, and they say, how can somebody who has got any material qualities cannot describe you? Because you were there before creation existed. So we are all born once creation happened. So how can we come and describe you or praise you, right? We have no idea because you were there before even we were there, right? So they go and they do a lot of praise, and they worship Krishna, say, and they sing praises to Krishna, the Nalakuvara Manigriva. Abhaji Shaki Dvitayam Yada Tvaya, Tadaiva Tat Garbha Talan Nireyusha Mahatvisha Yaksha Yugena Tat Kshanat. Put the it at the end of that line. Tat Kshanat, Next line, the da becomes a. Abhaji Govinda Bhavanapi Stavaihi. So Bhattripada is introducing the word Govinda here, but the Govinda name is going to come only later. So I'll tell you the meaning of it when it comes later. Abhaji Shaki Dvitayam Yada Tvaya तदैव तद्गर्भतलान् निरेयुषा महात्विषा यक्षयुगेन तत्क्षणात् अभाजि गोविन्द भवानपि स्तवैः
अभाविषाकिद्वितयं यदा त्वया तदैव तद्गर्भतलान् निरेयुषा महात्विषा यक्षयुगेन तत्क्षणात् अभाजि गोविन्द भवानपि स्तवैः अभाजिषाकिद्वितयं यदा त्वया तदैव तद्गर्भतलान् निरेयुषा महात्विषा यक्षयुगेन तत्क्षणात् अभाजि गोविन्द भवानपि स्तवैः
अभाजिषाकिद्वितयं यदा त्वया तदैव तद्गर्भतलान् निरेयुषा महात्विषा यक्षयुगेन तत्क्षणात् अभाजि गोविन्द भवानपि स्तवैः अभाजिषाकिद्वितयं यदा त्वया तदैव तद्गर्भतलान् निरेयुषा महात्विषा यक्षयुगेन तत्क्षणात् अभाजि गोविन्द भवानपि स्तवैः
इहान्यभक्तोऽपि समेष्यति क्रमात् भवन्तमेतौ खलु रुद्रसेवकौ मुनिप्रसादात् भवदङ्घ्रिमागतौ गतौ वृणानौ खलु भक्तिमुत्तमाम्. So this Nalakupara Manigriva then say that, you know what, we ended up going in wrong ways, but then all these years that we are now sitting as trees, we've been kind of contemplating, and you know they said now we have decided that the rest of our lifespan all we are going to be doing is just start talking about you. So anything we talk is going to be talking about you, anything we hear is going to be hearing about your glories, and our hands and our legs are all for your worship. And you know, they say that we really learned our lesson and we are so glad that we were able to see you. And Krishna also tells them that, you know what, that Narada was actually very merciful, because he says, if he had not cursed you, then, you know, if the amount of time it would have taken for you to realize and get liberated, now you are on an accelerated path, right? Because now you kind of came here, you became these trees, and then now they came in contact with Krishna. So he says, now we are on an accelerated path. So he says it's actually a blessing that great sage Narada actually gave you, not a curse. And then he also blesses them, and then they circumambulate Krishna, and then they both Gata Obrinanu, they both go back to their demigods, they go back to their abodes. Ihanya Bhaktopi Sameshyati Kramat, Bhavantametau Khalu Rudra Sevakau Muni Prasadat Bhavadangrim Agatau, Gatau Brinanau Khalu Bhaktim Uttamam. See, Bhattaripat says, no matter which god, and this is going to come a few times, we are going to see, right? Either Brahma blesses somebody with something, or Shiva blesses somebody with something, and then something goes wrong, and they are going to come back to Narayana. Several such stories are going to come. So here, Bhattaripat was saying the same thing. They all got blessed, but then they went in the wrong course. Eventually, they came back to you and got your blessings, and then now they are going in the right path. इहान्यभक्तोऽपि समेष्यति क्रमात् भवन्तमेतौ खलु रुद्रसेवकौ मुनिप्रसादात् भवदङ्घ्रिमागतौ गतौ वृणानौ खलु भक्तिमुत्तमाम्.
इहान्यभक्तोऽपि समेष्यति क्रमात् भवन्तमेतौ खलु रुद्रसेवकौ मुनिप्रसादात् भवदङ्घ्रिमागतौ गतौ वृणानौ खलु भक्तिमुत्तमाम्. इहान्यभक्तोऽपि समेष्यति क्रमात् भवन्तमेतौ खलु रुद्रसेवकौ मुनिप्रसादात् भवदङ्घ्रिमागतौ गतौ वृणानौ खलु भक्तिमुत्तमाम्.
इहान्यभक्तोऽपि समेष्यति क्रमात् भवन्तमेतौ खलु रुद्रसेवकौ मुनिप्रसादात् भवदङ्घ्रिमागतौ गतौ वृणानौ खलु भक्तिमुत्तमाम्. इहान्यभक्तोऽपि समेष्यति क्रमात् भवन्तमेतौ खलु रुद्रसेवकौ मुनिप्रसादात् भवदङ्घ्रिमागतौ गतौ वृणानौ खलु भक्तिमुत्तमाम्.
And so 9. ततस्तरुद्धारणदारुणारव प्रकम्पि सम्पाति निगोपमण्डले विलज्जितत्वज्जननी मुखे क्षिणा व्यमोक्षिनन्देन भवान् विमोक्षदः. So of course, when the two trees came crashing down, it created a lot of noise, right? And of course, then everybody, all the gopas, gopikas, everybody came running, and they were surprised to see these two trees completely fallen on the ground. But somehow Krishna is standing in the middle of those two trees with the mortar tied to him. So first, of course, everybody is now beginning to, they go take Krishna out, and then they all begin to wonder, how is it, that these two trees have fallen? How did this happen? Who could have done it? And more importantly, how is Krishna? Nothing has happened to him. He's standing in between these two trees, completely safe. And then they realize that Krishna is tied to the mortar. So I'm sure you all can realize. So Nandagopa goes, he looks at that, he looks at Yashoda, saying, what have you done here? You tied this poor boy to a mortar, and this boy has now come and he somehow luckily escaped getting killed right between these two trees. So anyway, they free Krishna out. And then with all the boys who are there, and this happens all the time, the boys say, what, we saw it. We saw that Krishna walked towards the trees. He pulled this mortar between the trees. The two trees came crashing down. We saw two lights come, and the two lights disappear. Like, yeah, nice try, right? Like this 4-year-old boy dragging all this happening. So they all think that the kids are all joking, and they ignore that. And then, but there are few people who still have some suspicion, but majority of the people just denounce, saying that it's not possible, right? So tatas tarudharana, so double tarudharana, two das there. First is dharana, then darunarava, and then put a plus. Prakampi sampatini gopa mandale. So those two lines are together. Vilajjita twaj janani mukhe kshina, comma, vyamokshi nandena bhavan vimokshadaha. ततस्तरुदारणदारुणारव प्रकम्पि सम्पाति निगोपमण्डले विलज्जितत्वज्जननी मुखे क्षिणा व्यमोक्षिनन्देन भवान् विमोक्षदः.
ततस्तरुदारणदारुणारव प्रकम्पि सम्पाति निगोपमण्डले विलज्जितत्वजननी मुखे क्षिणा व्यमोक्षिनन्देन भवान् विमोक्षदः. ततस्तरुद्धारणदारुणारव प्रकम्पि सम्पाति निगोपमण्डले विलज्जितत्वजननी मुखे क्षिणा व्यमोक्षिनन्देन भवान् विमोक्षदः.
ततस्तरुद्धारणदारुणारव प्रकम्पि सम्पाति निगोपमण्डले विलज्जितत्वज्जननी मुखे क्षिणा व्यमोक्षिनन्देन भवान् विमोक्षदः. ततस्तरुद्धारणदारुणारव प्रकम्पि सम्पाति निगोपमण्डले विलज्जितत्वज्जननी मुखे क्षिणा व्यमोक्षिनन्देन भवान् विमोक्षदः.
महीरुहोर्मध्यगतो बथार्भको हरेः प्रभावात् परीक्षतोऽधुना इति ब्रुवाणैर्गमितो गृहं भवान् मरुत्पुराधीश्वर पाहि मां गधात्. So everybody then takes Krishna and says it's really this Hare Prabhavat. It's because of the blessings of Hari that nothing has happened to this boy, that he survived all these two trees falling down and everything, and they all embrace you, Krishna, and then Griham Bhavan, they take you home happy that nothing has happened to you. O Marutpuradhishwara Pahimam Gadat, please eradicate my ailments. Mahi Ruhor Madhya Gato Batar Bhako, comma, Harehe, put a F, Haref Prabhavat. If you want to break it, you can say Prabhavat Aparikshato Dhuna, or you can say the whole word together also. Prabhavada Parikshato Dhuna. Iti Bruvanair Gamito Griham Bhavan, comma, Marutpuradhishwara Pahimam Gadat. Mahi Ruhor Madhyagato Batar Bhako Haref Prabhavada Parikshato Dhuna. Iti Bruvanair Gamito Griham Bhavan Marutpuradhishwara Pahimam Gadat.
महीरुहोर्मध्यगतो पतार्भको हरे प्रभावाद परीक्षतोऽधुना इति ब्रुवाणैर्गमितो गृहं भवानो मरुत्पुराधीश्वर पाहि मां ददात् महीरुहोर्मध्यगतो बतार्भको हरे प्रभावाद परीक्षतोऽधुना इति ब्रुवाणैर्गमितो गृहं भवानो मरुत्पुराधीश्वर पाहि मां ददात्.
Sujata Garu, the third line and griham, you're saying little bit bhavanu, oo sound is coming, just bhavan in.
Okay. Okay.
महीरुहोर्मध्यगतो बतार्भको हरेः प्रभावात् अपरीक्ष्यतोऽधुना इति ब्रुवाणैर्गमितो गृहं भवान् मरुत्पुराधीश्वर पाहि मां गदात् महीरुहोर्मध्यगतो बतार्भको हरेः प्रभावात् अपरीक्षतोऽधुना इति ब्रुवाणैर्गमितो गृहं भवान् मरुत्पुराधीश्वर पाहि मां गदात्.
Shri Krishna Parabrahmane Namaha. Completes 49, 48, sorry. So we'll go to 51. We'll do a few stanzas. So just a quick what happens in 49, 50, which we'll do later, but just to give a context. So Putana happens. There's Sakatasura, which we didn't see, we'll see later. Trinavarta, which we'll also see later. And then, of course, now Yamalarjuna and the trees falling. So these four incidents happen. And so when these four incidents happen, then all the people of Gokulam are very worried, saying, you know what, everything was very stable. All of a sudden, all these things are bad omens are happening in Gokulam. So they say we need to change places. So they all decide to move to this place called Vrindavan, right? Which is about, if you know where the map is, right? Gokulam is on one side, Vrindavan, you cross Mathura and then you go to Vrindavan. So they kind of go, which is in the banks of Yamuna river. So they decide to go there. So they think shifting houses or shifting the place is going to solve their problems. Least do they realize that Vrindavan things are going to get doubled up. This is what I saw was an appetizer. The main entrees are all going to come only in Vrindavan, right? So anyway, so they all move to Vrindavan. So that is what is happening in 49. And 50, this is the Vatsasura, Bhakasura, two things happen. We'll start with 51 today because 51 and 52 are kind of connected. The story flows. So 51 is Aghasura Vada Varnanam. So stanza 1. Kadachana Brajashishubhis samam bhavan vanashane vihitamatif pragetaram samhavruto bahutara vatsamandalaihi sate manair niragamadisha jemanaihi. So the transition when it is happening from Gokulam to Vrindavan, Krishna turns about 5 years old. So when they turn 5 years, then the boys start grazing calves first. Then they graduate later on. It will come later when they graduate to grazing cows. So right now they're grazing calves. So Krishna and all his friends always go out in the morning to graze calves. So Kadachana, so just one fine day, right? Krishna then tells all the things that let's go have a picnic in the Vrindavan because they're new to Vrindavan. So they're all exploring different places in Vrindavan, right? So in the forest. So they say let's all go have a picnic in the forest, right? So what they all do is they all rise up very early in the morning and they pack cooked rice. So this is a chapter typically after 51 is where we take a lunch break when you do Sampurna Narayaneeyam. Because this is Krishna and boys are going to eat in this. So we also will eat at the end of this, right? So anyway, so they all take cooked rice and they take all their calves and they all carry certain things, right? And this is going to continue when I continue with 52 also. So some of them carry flutes. Krishna carries a flute. Some of them carry the bugle horns, the horn kind of thing which you can make sound. Then some of them carry sticks, some of them have they all lunch bags and all that stuff, and they take all these things and one day early in the morning they decide to go for picnic. So there are two times where Balarama doesn't accompany the boys, Krishna. This is one of these incidents where Balarama doesn't come with the boys, right? And we'll see why later. So Kadachana Vraja Shishubhihi, put is Shishubhis samam bhavan, comma, vanashane vihita matihi, put a f matif pragetaram, samavruto bahutara vatsa mandalaihi, comma, sate manair niragamadhisha jemanaihi. कदाचन व्रजशिशुभिः समं भवान् वनाशने विहितमतिः प्रगेतराम् समावृतो बहुचरवत्समण्डलैः सते मनैर्निरगमदीशजेमनैः
कदाचन व्रजशिशुभिः समं भवान् वनाशने विहितमतिप्रगेतराम् समावृतो बहुतरवत्समण्डलैः सते मनैर्निरगमदीशजेमनैः कदाचन व्रजशिशुभिः समं भवान् वनाशने विहितमतिप्रगेतराम् समावृतो बहुतरवत्समण्डलैः सते मनैर्निरगमदीशजेमनैः
कदाचन व्रजशिशुभिः समं भवान् वनाशने विहितमतिः प्रगेतराम् समावृतो बहुतरवत्समण्डलैः सते मनैर्निरगमदीशजेमनैः कदाचन व्रजशिशुभिः समं भवान् वनाशने विहितमतिः प्रगेतराम् समावृतो बहुतरवत्समण्डलैः सते मनैर्निरगमदीशजेमनैः
विनिर्यतस्तव चरणाम्बुजद्वयात् उदञ्चितं त्रिभुवनपावनं रजः महर्षयः पुलकदरैः कलेबरैः उदूहिरे धृतभवदीक्षणोत्सवाः. She says, all these great sages, they go through this Ashtanga Yogam, and we'll see that Ashtanga Yogam in the 4th Dasakam later on. So which goes through a lot of complications, very big trouble, doing each of the asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, etc. So they go through all of those things. Even after they go through all of those things, none of those sages get to even see you or come near you. It is so hard. But here it says, but these boys of Vrindavan, these calves of Vrindavan, they have not done any of this Ashtanga Yoga, but they are all like happily playing with you, they are touching you, they are seeing you and everything. So when you, Krishna, you are walking in Vrindavan, the dust that is coming from you walking, all these sages descend down. And they say, that is the best opportunity we are going to get. Krishna is walking on the sands, so I'm going to roll on the sands, right? And then I'm going to get the dust on my body. And that is the greatness that they think. And interestingly, when I went to Vrindavan recently, like 1 or 2 years back only, I was going in an auto, and then you see people doing parihar, the circumambulation in Vrindavan by doing namaskaram on the road every step of the way. So not doing the walking alone. They do a namaskaram, then where your head ends, they walk, they do namaskaram, and with that they do it on the streets of Vrindavan. Right? I mean, we wouldn't even walk, our kids wouldn't even walk there because of all the dirt that is there, but they think even now it's such a punya bhumi that people do it even now, right? So anyway, so the sages all came down and says that dust which sanctifies all the 3 worlds, they wanted to get the dust on their body, and they all got down as well. Binir yatas tava charanambuja dvayat, put the it, dvayat, comma. Next line, the du becomes a u. Udanchitam tribhuvana pavanam rajaha maharshayah, put f, maharshayah pulakadaraihi, put a ih sound, pulakadaraih kalebaraihi, put a visarga comma, kalebaraihi. Next line, the ru becomes u. Uduhire dhrita bhavadikshanotsavaha. विनिर्यतस्तव चरणाम्बुजद्वयात् उदञ्चितं त्रिभुवनपावनं रजः महर्षयः पुलकदरैः कलेबरैः उदूहिरे धृतभवदीक्षणोत्सवाः.
विनिर्यतस्तव चरणाम्बुजद्वयात् उदञ्चितं त्रिभुवनपावनं रजः महर्षयः पुलकदरैः कलेबरैः बुधूहिरे धृतभवदीक्षणोत्सवाः. विनिर्यतस्तव चरणाम्बुजद्वयात् उदञ्चितं त्रिभुवनपावनं रजः महर्षयः पुलकदरैः कलेबरैः उदूहिरे धृतभवदीक्षणोत्सवाः.
विनिर्यतस्तव चरणाम्बुजद्वयात् उदञ्चितं त्रिभुवनपावनं रजः महर्षयः पुलकधरैः कलेबरैः उदूहिरे धृतभवतीक्षणोत्सवाः विनिर्यतस्तव चरणाम्बुजद्वयात् उदञ्चितं त्रिभुवनपावनं रजः महर्षयः पुलकधरैः कलेबरैः उदूहिरे धृतभवतीक्षणोत्सवाः।
प्रचार्ययत्य विरलशाद्वले तले पशून् विभो भवति समं कुमारकैः अघासुरोऽन्यरुणदघाय वर्तनीं भयानकः सपदि शयानकाकृतिः. So there was one of Kamsa's emissaries called as Aghasura. So he was kind of the brother of Putana, who we saw earlier, Bakasura, who we didn't see. So they are all siblings. So this Aghasura knows that Putana and Bakasura all died. And he knows that they came to this Gokulam, and there was this boy who they interacted and then they died. So he's been following Krishna. So this Aghasura is also a very famous like an asura who even the gods feared, it says. So they were all waiting, when is Krishna going to get rid of Aghasura? So this Aghasura decides that the best way for me to get rid of the entire Braja clan is to get rid of all these boys and Krishna, because the moment the boys die and Krishna die, the parents also will automatically give their lives away and they can completely eradicate that clan. So what he does is Bhayanaka Sapadi. So he takes the form of a very ferocious python, right? And then then the boys are wandering, they get into this area where there's a lot of tall grass. So there Aghasura is waiting, right, to devour these boys and the calves. प्रचारयत्य विरल शाद्वले तले पशून् विभो भवति समं कुमारकैः अघासुरो न्यरुणदघाय वर्तनीं भयानकः भयानकः सपदि शयानकाकृतिः. प्रचारयत्य विरलशाद्वले तले पशून् विभो भवति समं कुमारकैः अघासुरोऽन्यरुणदघाय वर्तनीं भयानकः सपदि शयानकाकृतिः.
प्रचारयत्य विरलशाद्वले तले पशून् विभो भवति समं कुमारकैः अघासुरोऽन्यरुणदघाय वर्तनीं भयानकः सपदि शयानकाकृतिः. प्रचारयत्य विरलशाद्वले तले पशून् विभो भवति समं कुमारकैः अघासुरोऽन्यरुणदघाय वर्तनीं भयानकः सपदि शयानकाकृतिः.
प्रचारयत्य विरलशाद्वले तले पशून् विभो भवति समं कुमारकैः अघासुरोऽन्यरुणदघाय वर्तनीं भयानकः सपदि शयानकाकृतिः. प्रचारयत्य विरलशाद्वले तले पशून् विभो भवति समं कुमारकैः अघासुरोऽन्यरुणदघाय वर्तनीं भयानकः सपदि शयानकाकृतिः.
Just do one more stanza and stop. महाचल प्रतिमतनोर्गुहानिभ प्रसारित प्रतितमुखस्य कानने मुखोदरं विहरन कौतुकाद्गताः कुमारकाः किमपि विदूरगे त्वहि. So this Aghasura was so massive and big python that he was stretching for miles together, it says, and he was lying down with his mouth open like this, right, like a python does. And it was such that while his lower mouth was resting on the ground, the upper one you can't even see how high it was going. It was massive, like a big mountain. So naturally, when the boys were all walking with the calves, they see this and they have no idea it's a snake. It looks like a big mountain with a cave. That's how it looked like. And somehow when they saw this was stretching for a long distance. So because they're also new to Vrindavan, 5-year-old boys, so they thought, maybe somebody has put like a theme park or something. There's some attraction somebody has in Vrindavan, and they are not sure it's a real snake. So they all decide to just go and enter into this thing, thinking it is some cave or some attraction that they have, and they all enter into it. But the important thing is, before they enter, right? They all look at Krishna first, just to kind of see, can we go, or at least letting Krishna, I'm going by the way, right? So that was the important thing here. This Gopa boys or the Gopas, they don't do anything without involving Krishna. So well, Krishna did not enter first. The boys were entering, but they all looked at Krishna first before they actually entered, saying that we are entering by the way, right? And that was the thing which is going to come and help them later, and we'll see what happens in the next class. So Mahachala Pratima Tanur Guha Nibha, and then put a plus, Prasarita Pratita Mukasya Kanane. So those two lines are together. Mukhodaram Viharana Kautukat Gataha, comma, Kumarakaha, put a ich sound, Kumarakah, Kimapi Vidurage Twai. महाचल प्रतिमतनोर्गुहानिभ प्रसारित प्रतित मुखस्य कानने मुखोदरं विहरन कौतुकाद्गताः कुमारकाः किमपि विदूरगे त्वयि.
महाचल प्रतिम तनोर्गुहानिभ प्रसारित प्रतित मुखस्य कानने मुखोदरं विहरण कौतुकाद्गताः कुमारकाः किमपि विदूरगे त्वयि. महाचल प्रतिम तनोर्गुहानिभ प्रसारित प्रतित मुखस्य कानने मुखोदरं विहरण कौतुकाद्गताः कुमारकाः किमपि विदूरगे त्वयि.
Twai, yeah. Twai is the short one. The first time when you said Sujata, you stressed it a little bit, but yeah, this time correct.
Yeah, little bit better.
महाचल प्रतिम तनोर्गुहानिभ प्रसारित प्रथित मुखस्य कानने मुखोदरं विहरण कौतुकात् गताः कुमारकाः किमपि विदूरगे त्वयि. महाचल प्रतिम तनोर्गुहानिभ प्रसारित प्रथित मुखस्य कानने मुखोदरं विहरण कौतुकात् गताः कुमारकाः किमपि विदूरगे त्वयि.
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. In the class here. सान्द्रानन्दावबोधात्मकमनुपमितं कालदेशावदेभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावद्भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानाम्. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you everybody. Have a good Sunday.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you.
Rajesh, do we have class next week?
Yeah, no, next week. Yeah, I mean we can cancel the class. That's fine. I'll send a message.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.